Hey guys, and welcome to the In Tune with Allison Park podcast. Today we have a very special guest with us. I don't know if I could have picked a more perfect person because he walks the line of music and mindfulness so well. Singer, songwriter, beautiful human being inside and out, and also completely in the wellness community. He is a Reiki master, life coach, and just the most well human being that I know, Ryan Hagan.
I am forever changing. I don't mind rearranging. You've got to crawl before you walk. Routines I never bother, 'cause my mind can change by the hour, and I can live without a clock. Oh, don't you worry about me. Oh, 'cause I'm right where I should be. I'm doing just fine. Gonna paint my walls with my own design. Don't rush me, 'cause I'll be on
Ryan,
What's up, my friend?
I'm so happy you're here.
I am pumped to be here.
Yeah, I know you were at Beyonce last night, so
Yeah, my voice is a little fried.
that's okay. I couldn't tell, but
Yeah, there was so much happening at any given moment. Like the lights, the dancers, her insane voice and breath control, like the dancers, like
Yeah.
that part really caught me.
she
too.
is, I think, what you think of when you think of like the quintessential entertainer, artist, songwriter, businesswoman, like everything.
It's
So
everything. And like I said, like I'm just sitting there and I'm like, I don't know whether to like do cartwheels right now or scream or just sit down and cry. Like it was just an incredible show.
that's so amazing.
And then like the way that it started, because we were waiting there, like the show was supposed to start, I think at 7, and of course it's like 8:30, it's like the whole thing. So we're all waiting, and this one girl has been to like every concert that she's ever had. And so she's
Oh
like,
my
oh, she
God.
goes on at 8:25 to 8:35 solid. And I think she went on at like 8:45, and she was like, oh no, something's going on. Something's wrong. And so we're all just sitting there chilling. And then out of nowhere, like the stage lights go on, and then she goes, Nashville. I love you, Nashville. And like just everybody goes nuts. And I just like start uncontrollably like yelling because I'm just so in love with the fact that she's here and
so
I'm there.
good.
Yeah, it's the whole thing. So
That's amazing.
it was a gift to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, cause you have some similar connections to her. right?
Yeah. So back in her Destiny's Child days, her dad actually, I think, was connected to Kim Wood-Sandusky, who's a vocal producer, vocal coach, who's worked with a ton of people,
Yeah.
right? But Beyonce and Destiny's Child being like the paramount ones
Yeah.
that were her clients. And somehow the universe connected me to Kim, and Kim loves me and I love Kim. And she has been like so pivotal for my career in music.
Yeah.
And she's also just good people. So she's originally from Texas, but she moved to Nashville and, works with a lot of artists here and stuff. So
That's so cool. What a cool person to
yeah,
know.
I know it. I'll say this, like walking into her studio is so intimidating. It shouldn't be, because like that's like my ego talking or whatever.
Mhm.
But I walk in and it's like Beyonce platinum album here, and like all these like major Christian artists, they're on the walls, and I'm just thinking, okay, and I'm like over here like
Yeah.
indie, like rookie to the industry, but I'm like
Yeah.
I'm here, like let's have some fun. So yeah.
Well, you certainly did. You have so many good songs out, and like they have done pretty darn well. Like
Thank you.
I bop to them in the car a lot. Like
Love it.
truly. And the one song that we were just talking about off the screen, You Deserve Better.
Yeah.
I found that song at like the perfect time in my life, and I was just in the car like, yes I do. Like and I had just met you too, so I was just like, he is sending me messages everywhere.
I'm channeling them just for you.
Yeah.
No, so many people actually had that same thought.
Yeah.
And actually, I was listening to one of your earlier podcast episodes because I'm a fan now. I'm a fan. And you said something to the effect of like, the things that you normally feel like are just for you, you're supposed to kind of keep in, they're sort of individualized or like too personal.
Yeah.
Those are actually the most universal things.
Yes.
That song is a perfect example of that.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So Kim connected me to this producer that's here in Nashville, Brian Todd. And Brian's worked with, huge names, but he has this passion for taking, indie folks and trying to, help them to develop. And he has a label and he has a lot of connections to Europe. And so that was kind of the strategy, was getting us like some airtime and stuff out in Europe, which paid off. And I had a great run out there. And in any event, like she connected me to him. I was driving down to Franklin to go to his studio. And me, and we'll, I'm sure, talk about like the mindfulness and the spiritual part of my life. But just to talk about the intersect of music and that, I'm in the car, I'm driving down, I don't have the radio on for some reason. I'm not like listening to any music, or my phone's not connected. And just out of nowhere I hear, "You deserve better." And I was like, what was that?
Yeah.
In my head.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, okay, so like, Spirit, are y'all trying to tell me like I deserve better in my life? Like, what is this about? I'm just sitting there like perplexed. So, I don't know these people really that well. I mean, I know Brian a little bit because we'd had meetings, but I walk into the studio and literally he like flips the mix on and we're listening to it. And I'm like, that is the perfect melody for this thing. So it's just a weird sort of like out of the ether, that phrase comes to me and it becomes the title of the song. It's in the chorus. It's a whole thing. So I tell musicians, even like the ones who aren't claiming to be super spiritual, I'm like, no, you're channeling.
Yeah.
You just don't know it.
I always tell people that too. And I don't know how you feel about this, but like there are, and I think we might have talked about it before once or twice, but there are moments where I've written a full song and I don't know where it came from. Yep. And it is like I was just receiving it as a gift instead of like, so for me, feeling like I can take all the credit for that, that's just never the truth. Like even if I wrote a song by myself, I feel like there's so much more to that than we even know. Because ideas, like you said, just will pop into my head. I get shower ideas a lot. Yep. Car ideas and shower ideas. That's where I get so many. And I'm like, no, I just wanted to take a shower. Now I have to hop out of the shower and I have to sing it on the voice note. Now my phone is wet and I'm tracking water everywhere. Like truly, this is like the life of an artist.
So true. Like that exact experience you just talked about.
Yes. And
then like in the car, so I have State Farm insurance. By the way, this podcast episode is sponsored by State Farm.
That would be amazing.
No, so I just switched to State Farm and they have this like little nodule thing that you put on your windshield.
I have that.
You have that?
Yeah.
So you can't like have your phone on or whatever. Like you can't have the screen on.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, whatever. But then I have these like audio like files get downloaded in my head and I want to like take my phone so bad. So I'm like, sometimes like having to like find a stop sign or a stoplight so I can like, or like just pull over.
State Farm is ruining songs.
I know.
Everywhere. What are you guys doing?
Oh, God. It's like the Illuminati. They're trying to like take out all the indie artists or something.
No, with State Farm.
Right. I mean, I don't know.
That would be honestly, I kind of love that being the entire thing of it. Like that is so comical to me. That would be such a funny way to do it.
Oh God, yeah. That's like big time conspiracy theory.
Yeah, that was like one of the, honestly, I want to spread that conspiracy theory.
But it's so wild, like, even people like Albert Einstein and stuff, they said like, I think his quote is like, imagination is more important than knowledge or more powerful than knowledge. And like even he would play the violin or something just to sort of get past little blocks in his equations. Yeah. And I really think like there's something to that. There's like a connectedness. Music is such a beautiful thing. Like it connects us to so many things. And one of the reasons I did this podcast is because I was sitting there thinking actually I was in your class when I was like feeling these deep things.
which I want to get into a little bit because that was so great. But I was thinking so deeply during that whole time I was taking your class that I got into this space of like, why don't, like, I get so excited talking about music, and I feel this crazy kind of way about how it wakes people up. And I really wanted to share that with everyone I knew. And I know, like, when I was even growing up, I would tell my mom, like, why is this song not, like, does this song make you want to cry, or does this song make you want to dance, or like, do you feel as aggressively as I do about what I'm listening to? She was like, not this song, but this song I do. And so, like, for me, it really opened my world. And then I thought everybody just really thought that way. And the more I realized and I get older, I'm like, they don't. So for me, it's so great to be able to share with people, like artists and people who are in like the mindfulness and wellness area of life. Like, we're very open to receiving all kinds of things in music and other things as well. So I think it's so important to have those discussions and talk with like all of those kinds of people to bring to the forefront, like to show people, like, I know you're feeling a big type of way, but maybe you don't know how to put words to it yet.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So when I really decided, like, okay, I'm going to do this, like, I'm going to give music a shot. And it took me a while. Like, I was in corporate America for a while. I was making really good money. You know, I look back now and I'm like, I sold out, you know, in a way. But yeah, I look at it and I'm like, you know, I think there are probably two moments that like really shifted things for me. One was in college. The second one was after I was out and like doing, you know, big boy job stuff. And I had uncovered that in Mandarin, so like the language the Chinese speak and write, they the word for medicine is actually built on the character for music. So like the word for music is the foundation of the word medicine in their language.
My God.
So the ancients saw music and sound and vibration as healing. They didn't just think of it as like an industry or something, you know, just as even entertainment, like the toe tapping and everything, like the rhythm, there was something quite healing about it. And they even used tools like sound bowls and, you know, lots of other things. But I thought, whoa, that's it for me. Musicians are healers. So I think at the end of the day, to become mindful, not only about one's own journey as a writer or an artist or an instrumentalist or whatever it is that you do, it's to realize that like you're giving a gift. And also as a creator, like we all came here to be creators, right?
Yeah.
Everything that you have right now was once a thought. It was an idea, and now you have it. So as a creator, the world will never be the same. Like this podcast being in the world now, the planet's never going to be the same because there was a world in which Allison's In Tune podcast didn't exist, and now there's one where it does exist.
Yeah.
So, and then the same thing with the music that you write. And I just, back to the You Deserve Better song, I had so many people that contacted me and they were like, you have no idea. Like I needed to hear that.
Yeah.
And I mean, people's lives, even in my coaching now, I'll use that word deserve. Like you deserve this, or you didn't deserve that, you know, or whatever. And there's something powerful about that word.
Yeah.
Because people, they don't know. Like they forget the value and the worth that they have. So I feel like, you know, yeah, am I Beyonce? No, I'm not. But the lives that song touched, like those lives count.
But you're
those
Ryan
matter.
Hagan.
But I'm Ryan Hagan. That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, music is medicine.
Yeah.
That's my.
That is beautiful.
That's my brand.
Yes. Honestly, I feel that with you though so much. Like, and I can't even tell you, like, I want to get a little bit, like, just pretty quickly, like, I want to get into, like, a little bit of how we met, because I love this story. And, and I've had Conway on the podcast, and we've talked about all the little, like, things that she throws, and now bigger things, obviously. But that just really help in general. And it was like a Nashville women's group. And you were doing like readings, and you are like incredibly intuitive. And I walked into the room, and you just like immediately were just like, you called me out immediately, like when I walked in there, and you just said like exactly what I needed to hear.
I did.
And I wasn't sure what I was expecting when I walked in there. And you just knew. And like the whole entire reading was so like eye-opening to me that it really like kind of changed the trajectory of how I started thinking about things. And then I started being like, okay, well, let's like look at like the classes that you do, and just like being able to talk with you and go to and have some of those one-on-ones, like truly so amazing, as well as like following you on Instagram and all your socials and things like that. Like your music is amazing, but also like people need to know that like when they follow you, they're also getting these beautiful quotes from you. That are so eye-opening and helpful, and like you see them when you need to see them.
Oh, thank you.
And it's so funny because the people that I have turned on to you, like even my mom, I'm like, she follows you. And the other day she was like, did you see what Ryan posted? Like that quote. I think you really need to hear that quote. I was like, yes, Mom, I heard the quote. I saw the quote. It was great. I internalized it. Did you see this quote? Like,
oh no, she's using me against you.
She is. But it's so funny. I was like, did you read it? No, I'm kidding.
Oh my
but
God.
Truly, you're like reaching so many people, and I'm not even sure. Like, I know you know that you are, but like so many more than you even realize, I think. And
thank you.
It's just a really beautiful thing to like watch everything that you have, like, and what you're bringing to the table, from like that small moment of just like having a reading with you and not knowing who you were, to like now you're just like a part of my life like every day, and I watch like your Instagrams and I listen to your music, and it's just like it pops up on my Spotify, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, there's Ryan. And it's just such a positive influence.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, so I immediately thought of you for this podcast and how to like just connect all of this together. It really, I think you're just like such a special person for that.
Oh, thank you so much.
For sure.
I remember being there.
Yeah.
Obviously, and remember meeting you and Amanda and Conway and all the girls. Rarely do I remember readings, because it's like I don't know what I'm saying.
Right.
I mean, I'm not like, whatever. It's not like Ghostbusters or something like that. But like I'm kind of channeling, or not kind of. I mean, I am. So I'll get names and places, and I'll know things that I should have no way of knowing. And I think the crazy thing is that like I really believe like we all have some form of that. Ever thought of somebody's name and then 30 seconds later they're calling you, or you just have some strange way of knowing that today, such and such and such and such is going to happen, and then it does. Like I really think that we all have some form of intuition, even like from a science, because me, I'm spiritual, but I also have like the science part of me as well. Like even there's tons and tons of research that's been replicated and peer reviewed, and like intuition is a real thing. It's not just kind of a cliche. But when I'm in that mode, I don't often remember what it is that I say or said. I'll remember people's names, and I'll remember their voices and their faces, but like, yeah, so I don't know what I said, but I'm glad that
but also it wasn't like, I feel like you go into a lot of these things and you're like, all right, let's see what happens. Like, just like, let's get a tarot reading, that kind of thing. But you were like, so you normalized it to a point where it wasn't like a weird thing. It was just like, I'm having a conversation with a friend who just happens to be super intuitive.
Yeah.
And so I really loved that. I think a lot of people do that I've talked to who've like done that with you. They're like, oh yeah, that's like just, it didn't make me feel weird at all. Like it just made me feel really comfortable. And I think that's really, really a cool thing that you have.
Thank you.
For sure.
I think that's because like, that's what I would want. And cause like, like you see those like walk in and get your palms read.
Yeah.
Or like, and no offense to anybody out there that does that, but I mean, like for me, the woo-woo aspect of it, it's cool, but also like it doesn't have to be so eccentric or out there.
Right.
I had somebody that, I don't know if you're familiar with human design.
A little bit. And
Yeah.
only through you.
Yeah, so human design is kind of like astrology and psychology and I Ching. Like there's a bunch of little modalities kind of thrown together. And I had somebody read my human design chart, and they said, you're supposed to be the like normal but like woo-woo person. And I was like, I've never felt so red in my life.
Yeah.
They're like, you're supposed to have this wow factor, because like, not wow as in like arrogant, prideful, but wow as in like people wouldn't expect. And I was like, oh, she's like, and it makes sense. I mean, you walk in, like you just look normal. Like you look like you should be from East Nashville or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know, this is where I live.
Yeah.
I think it's like a statute or something. Like after you've lived in Nashville for 3 years, if you've not been signed to a label, you have to move to East Nashville or something.
That's so funny.
Isn't that like, I think that's like a thing.
Oh man.
But yeah, and I don't try to like make it anything like extra. Like there's no tables levitating or anything like that.
Yeah.
A lot of the like crazy Hollywood version of it.
Right, exactly.
That would be cool if I could do that, but to me that's just like not what it's about.
Right, exactly. You know? I think you got down to the core of what it is actually about, and the part that really freaks a lot of people out about spirituality, like that's not there with you. So I really liked that. And then also that's just like not all you do. You are a Reiki master.
Yep.
You guide people through like so many amazing life coaching moments, like wellness coaching, like you help people get more into meditation. Like you've recorded meditations, right?
Yeah.
For people to guide them. And that's definitely helpful.
Yeah. Meditation, I think it's something that's really becoming a part of kind of like pop culture. I think like people are like, I need to go meditate on that, you know, or whatever. It's like people used to say, like when I was growing up, like I need to pray about that. And
yeah.
Now people are like, I'm gonna go meditate on that.
Right.
And it's like a powerful thing, right? It's something that's also very daunting, because when you have to sit with your thoughts and the thoughts that you try not to think about, it's scary.
Yeah.
And I also think that you're not meant to do it alone. You know, and meditation can also be scary because like when I first started, I did it by myself and I'm like, I can't do this. You know, there was the whole like ADD thing and my mind like wanted to go down a bunch of different rabbit trails or whatever. And then I had somebody like really teach me and I thought, wow, this can be taught. And just doing it now for years and years and years, it's just such a staple. It's a part of my life. And like, you will know if I've not meditated on a particular day, because you'd be like,
yeah,
bro, do you need some coffee? Like, what is wrong?
What is happening?
Are you okay? Like, somebody cut you off in traffic? Like, it's one of those things that like, it makes such a huge difference in my world. And yeah, as far as like the energy work goes, Reiki. So funny story about that. So a very dear friend, probably one of my best friends now, she is originally from India and she has done a dance around the globe, but she wound up here in Nashville. And I remember early on in my spiritual awakening, I was just wrecked. Like, you know, you're going through that like dark night of the soul, you know, the people you love leave you. The people that are in your family are like questioning your life path and you're questioning your life path. And like you walk outside, it's a sunny day, but you can't catch the vibe. It's just, it's a valley, you know? Mm-hmm. And so you're going through this awakening, or I'm going through this awakening. And I am like, there's something so off about me. I don't get it. And I had a friend who's really into astrology. And it was like one of the few friends that I felt like I kind of like talked to about some of the spiritual things that were happening in my world. And I look back on it now and I'm like, God, there were actually so many people surrounding me who were sort of going through the same thing.
Yeah.
But I like turned to that person. And they were talking about hands-on healing. And I thought, well, okay, I'm from the Christian church traditionally, right? So I have kind of heard of like, you know, laying hands on people. So it was like close enough to like what was comfortable in my faith tradition at the time, but also like far out enough to where I was like nervous.
Yeah.
So like, I'm like, am I going to go to hell after I do this? And I go in and I meet my friend Minu, my now friend Minu, and she is so super sweet, really, really sweet girl. And she does this energy session for me. And I walked in, I literally felt the worst I'd ever felt. I walk in feeling the best I'd ever felt in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Now, is that a normal experience? I mean, some people need 60 minutes, some people need 4 sessions. I don't know that it's the stereotype, but I would say it changed my life.
Yeah.
And I just think back to that and I'm like, man, that was one of those pivotal moments in my life where I was like, there's more to the eye. Like there's more out there than I think that there is.
Yeah.
It just really expanded my vision. So energy work is so important. It, relaxes your nervous system and eases anxiety and depression. Studies show that it expedites physical healing. It's a complementary therapy. And also it's just something that's nice to do because when you become more aware of your emotions and the experiences that you have in life, like you're not numbing it out, you're not drinking it away, you're not caffeining it away, you're not scrolling it away.
Yeah.
You become, and so many musicians are because
Yeah.
they feel so deeply. They have to in order to write authentically.
Absolutely.
Energy work is so pivotal. It's so important because it keeps you balanced and grounded, and it doesn't like those things that you feel they're real, but you don't have to stay attached to them. So they almost allow you to sort of detach and come back to like,
yeah,
your ground level. So
what's super interesting about that is when you did some Reiki on me. So I go to the chiropractor. I have like one of those, like you go to the chiropractor and it's like once a week. And I had been going to them for about like a year and a half. And then you did one Reiki session on me. And I had been like also doing some other things like eating healthy. I was drinking far less. Like I was really taking a step like into the meditation and everything, like lightly at that time. But you did that. And the next session I went into, the guy was like, I don't remember you being like not so like wound up. Like he was just so confused. And it was so funny because my body just like felt completely different to him. He was just like, what are you doing? And I was like, well, I'm doing this and I'm doing this. And I had some Reiki. He was like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. Like my whole body was relaxed. And
wow.
It's funny because I was feeling that in my body. Like I was feeling more energetic and I was just feeling lighter in general. And I honestly couldn't believe that I was like, that is amazing. But I think it's because it was backed up with so many other good intentions. I think that's important too. You can't just be like, I'm going to do Reiki and it's all going to be fine. Like you have to be working through it for sure. And I think it's always like, there are times where I'm meditating straight for the whole week. And then there are times where I'm like, wow, I skipped like 3 days out of that whole week and I can tell. But like just being kind, giving grace, being like, listen, this is like a journey. Like I'm not just going to show up and be good at this. So
absolutely.
Yeah. But like definitely when I was going through that was so interesting because the chiropractor was commenting on it.
Yeah.
So it definitely, it worked for me. So.
Well, it's interesting. So the one thing that I started doing, and this is pretty woo-woo, I have to admit, even for me, I started doing Reiki like on the music that I wrote. So like You Deserve Better, for exactly, like I like really infused it with a lot of Reiki intention. And Reiki is just, it literally is just a word. It's a Japanese energy healing technique. It literally just means universal life force. And there's this idea that the thing that animates all of us, like we all come from the same bucket, and the bucket just pours into different human physical vessels or whatever. And so like we all have it, but we can get out of alignment with it and it can get blocked and not flow as like fluidly as it's supposed to. And so like Reiki is just about restoring balance. That's really all that it is. It's not a religion. It's not a cult. It's not anything other than just that. Some people go on walks. Some people exercise. Some people need Reiki, right? Yeah. Everybody's different. But I've also found that it's a lot about, as you said, I'm going to borrow that word, intention. It's a lot about intention. And I just thought, you know what? I just want this to have a healing intention. Like, that's my thing. Music is medicine, right? So like infuse that into my music. So hopefully it works. I don't know.
I feel it. Like, I think that's so cool. It's a lot. I think a lot of people mistake like thinking something's woo woo for like something that, like, if we're all energy and we're moving energy around, like, that's just science. Like, honestly.
Yeah.
So it's super interesting to me, like, when people say like, hey, when we played this kind of music for these plants, and then we played this kind of music for these plants grew better.
Yeah.
So why would that not make sense for the people who are whispering kind thoughts into their water?
Sure.
And like, we're made up of mostly water. So that's like, why would that not work? You know what I mean? And so it's funny. And I love that people's minds are expanding to this kind of thing, but truly, like, it is so wild to be like, okay, yeah. So if you're thinking of it, like you said, like, we're all just pouring, like, we're taking and pouring from the same bucket. We're all the same. We're all doing the same thing. I think that's so interesting. Like, and I see why that works.
Yeah.
You know?
It's amazing. And like you said, I mean, even, is it weird to do the science thing on this podcast?
No, I love it.
Okay.
No, I want, like I said, like, we talk a lot, like, especially in your class, about like authenticity and like finding what that is. And I don't want anybody like blocking or filtering themselves on here.
Well, even like if you go Google quantum physics, like, you'll come up with like all of these really cool videos. The idea that like the world, like this chair that I'm sitting in, this hard chair, this microphone, or this, you know, cup of tea, like, I see it as something physical. I'm holding it as something that's like what we would call matter. Like, that's traditional, what they call Newtonian physics. But what they found is, like, with technology and able to like zoom in closer and closer and closer to the smallest, like, tiniest little particles, those quantum particles are basically tethered together, and they vibrate together, and they vibrate so fast that you can't see it. Your senses perceive this thing as matter, or they touch it or feel it or what have you. So these particles vibrate and they create waves. Oh, I don't know, like sound waves, vibrations, like a piano chord, you know, like whatever. So I think of it from the perspective of like, you know, if I say things that are of a higher vibration, like things that are encouraging or uplifting, something that's going to impact somebody and make them feel better, like that, I think, is a higher vibration. So that's kind of the woo-woo part of it. The science part of it is like, no, actually, these things are happening. Like, they're on a small scale, everything's vibrating.
Yeah.
So you can measure that. Literally, you can measure vibration in the same way that you can measure sound waves. So it's, to me, it's like, either way you want to look at it, it's there. We don't know all that there is to know about it yet,
right? But
it's very much a real thing.
Yeah. Have you seen the videos where like somebody's playing an instrument and they show you the sound wave and what it looks like? Like, with fire, or like just water, fire, like the elements, and they're using the elements to literally show you like what that trumpet looks like and what that violin looks like. It is the most beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And like, I think there's something so interesting about like the way that music makes people feel, because the way that it's manipulating the vibrations and the elements in your body, because we are all, like you said, all from the same thing. So if you're feeling something, it's like, even like how the moon is like affecting the water, and we're made of water, so why wouldn't a full moon affect us, you know? Things like that, just to think about, that I always am pondering. And it's like, everything is so interconnected and so beautiful, to be honest. And it really is like, you can vibrate higher anytime that you want, but you have to choose to do it. And I definitely personally have seen changes in that. Even like you said, like when you're going through that, you're like, oh my goodness, look at all these people that are like, at the time you're like, that are leaving me or that don't understand me. But then all of a sudden it is replaced by like all of these people who do. And you're like, wow, I'm so much happier, or like, this makes so much more sense for my life and where I want it to go, or what I want to be and who I want to look like and sound like. And so I really do believe in everything that you just said about the science and the backing of it all. It's for sure.
Yeah, it's so real. I think the one thing that you just said that like strikes me is that you really do get to decide what you want. And if you are ready, you can let go of the stuff that's heavy.
Yeah.
And you don't have to do it alone. We are a communal species. We're wired for connection.
Mm-hmm.
We know that we have to have that. But you get to choose who you want to be connected with. And I always tell clients, like, you know, you leave either feeling better, worse, or neutral after being with someone. And I think, you know, take inventory of, you know, audit the people who you spend your time with, because it's your time, your energy is literally, that's currency.
Yeah.
And you spend it and you invest it in people. And that's not to say that it's wrong to have like friends that you go out with, or wrong to have friends that you can like watch the Real Housewives with. Like, I think that's great. But having a knowingness that like, yeah, maybe I'm not as in alignment with Joe anymore or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, that's something that's so important, because people get into feeling stuck or forced to maintain relationships that they're not in alignment with anymore. It's like, sometimes like our soul path, we expand. And what I'm hearing you say is basically like, that's what it was for you. There were people that you weren't in alignment with anymore that fell away. But like, you had the courage to invite others in that were a match to you.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
And it's very scary, but unbelievably worth it. Like, truly worth it.
Yeah.
You definitely helped me walk that path though. Like, honestly, like I've had a lot of people who, like, the first few guests of the podcast were really truly the people that really stood with me through those things and helped me learn things about myself that I really maybe wasn't prepared to learn yet, but like it was time. And they're also going through those transitions at the same time. So we're all kind of helping each other elevate. And I think that's really cool. And that was really such a blessing to have you be a part of that for me, for sure. And I know that others feel that way about you, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was all the blessing, the honor was all mine.
Oh my gosh.
So, no, it's crazy because
Yeah.
I tell people, like, I actually had somebody the other day, they were like, you know, so I heard you gotten into like wellness coaching and like, you know, what's it like? They were very interested in it. And I'm like, listen, you are going to be a mirror to others, but people are going to be a mirror to you.
Yeah.
So like, I learn just as much. Like, there's full humility here. I learned just as much, like, from you and AJ and like the people in the coaching group. That you
and they were also special, truly. Like, shout out to that whole coaching group. You know who you are, and I know that some of you are watching, and I appreciate it so much.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and I get so much hype and like so many kind words from them too, and like I just think it's so cool. Like, such a cool thing, and those are people that are just like there now. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
very cool to go through, like you said, the journey in like a communal headspace. And even if everybody's like on different levels of like mindfulness, you meet in the space of knowing that you're all working towards the same goal.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
I want to segue just a little bit because I do want to talk a little bit, because I'm so curious about what your responses are about this. So in Tune, we like to ask people some songs that like bring up some nostalgia for them. Mm-hmm. Do you have any songs in mind that just really make you feel a certain type of way, like stop you in traffic kind of songs that like place you into a space? Definitely.
So I think, like, I could rattle off like some of the big ones. Like, I love Prince. Like, I love Whitney Houston. I love all of the powerhouse divas, right?
Yeah.
So I was trying to think of some that would be maybe more like kind of boutique or more unique. And so there's an artist named Mark Broussard. I don't know if you're familiar with Mark.
Why do I know that name?
Yeah. I am kind of obsessed with Mark Broussard. I love, like, so he's from Louisiana. He's kind of got just a mix of soul, and it's I just love his writing and his voice. It's so authentic. And I'm gonna tell you, like, if you put on his Karen Crow album, I think that's how you pronounce it, Karen Crow, that album, I could just listen to it straight through all the time.
Yeah.
And it is such a flashback for me. Like I'm literally back in my little Ford Explorer that I was driving when I was in high school, listening to him sing and be like, oh my God, this song is like so like, and it's everything, right? It's like the uplifting stuff. It's the ballads that just make you want to like bawl. I think he did the project with somebody from Belmont.
Oh, really?
I think a professor.
That is so cool.
Yeah, I think that's right. He may have written it with somebody from there, but yeah, and I mean, so good.
Yeah.
So that's kind of more of a like unique one.
I love that.
I would say. Another one that I really love, and this is kind of a guilty pleasure. There's an artist named Jasmine Sullivan.
Oh, listen, if you're about to say what I think, I feel you on this one.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Bust the windows out your
Yes!
car. Like,
bust the windows
like
out your car.
it's so legit. And the thing is, like, we all have that like shadow experience of wanting to just wreck somebody's car, or like we want karma to go hunt that person down.
Yeah.
Like we've all had that experience, right? And like I just love the fact that she can embody that all for us.
She really did too. And like now that's like my go-to karaoke song. Like I will roll up and say to the karaoke person, I want Jasmine Sullivan, Bust Your Windows. And they're like, are you sure? Like they're like, because that's like a song. And I'm like, I'm sure. Like I'm ready to wail right now. I need to get some stress off. Let's go.
Okay, wait a second. You have to somehow put a video up of that. Yeah, video pics and videos, or it didn't happen.
I'm pretty sure my friends have some really embarrassing footage of me doing this multiple times.
Well, your friends need to send it in to the Intune podcast.
Go ask AJ Cray. Like she's got all the video.
We need a physical evidence of this.
Yeah.
Visual evidence.
It's so good. What is your karaoke go to?
Oh God.
Because I know you have one. You have to have one.
Man, I have so many different. Okay, hold on a second. I'm so curious. What would you think my karaoke go-to is?
Oh, that's so hard.
Right?
I would think it would be a Prince song. Like I think
really?
you would go in and be like, "Let me lay some Purple Rain on you."
Yeah.
Like, and people would be like, "Ugh."
That's a guilty pleasure.
Let's go.
That's a guilty pleasure for sure.
Yeah.
I also love to take kind of like oldie songs and like reimagine them.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I love to do that, and I can get kind of creative with it. I mean, here's the thing. Like when I had my music Instagram before it got hacked and taken down and all this crazy mess, I had a few Whitney Houston covers. And like, strangely enough, and talk about woo things, so we'll sidetrack, but we'll come back to music. It's related. I had somebody do a reading for me 4 or 5 years ago, and they told me that they saw Whitney Houston around me. And I was like, first of all, I don't know if you've like looked at my page or something. Well, that actually would have been before that. So I don't know if you're like listening to me in the shower or something, but like it's so interesting to think that like maybe from the spirit world, like some artists like kind of visit us and help inspire us or something. But I absolutely love to like reimagine songs like that. And it's a huge honor to be able to like sing a Whitney song, but like I in no way think that I'm like outdoing her or anything. It's like I have to do my own version because I can't redo what she's done.
No one can.
Right.
Like,
but want to dance with somebody, like that's definitely
I could see that for sure.
I kind of slowed it down and made it more of like a ballad. Like that kind of
that
thing
would be very like I need to hear that now.
Yeah.
Like now that it's like in the universe for me, like I need to hear your version.
Yeah, we can bring it back. So I mean, karaoke for me, I have to say, I don't do it a ton. But when I do, I like to throw down. I got to. So
That's amazing. Okay, so Jasmine Sullivan makes you feel some type of way. Does it bring you back to any specific moment or like any specific like breakup or anything, or like anything you were going through?
Well, so probably college. Definitely I think we all had a breakup in college, right? Like if you didn't, like what rock are you living under?
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah, so it was a college breakup. And I mean, I really thought like when I was singing that song, like I was sending karma to that person. I don't know. It was crazy.
Yeah. Totally.
But she has some incredible stuff. She has another song, by the way, just throwing that out there. And this is like a really female empowerment song. It's called something, I think it's like Mona Lisa, but it's a song basically about how curvy or not, like as a woman, like your body, you're a masterpiece. That's the name of the song, Masterpiece. And I love that because she is curvy. And
Yep.
by the way, the Beyonce concert last night, they showed off this one dancer who does not fit the profile. Like she was shorter and like she was thicker, and everyone was living for it.
I love that. That needs to happen so much more.
Yeah,
It needs to be so like normal.
I'm
commonplace.
like, because it is normal.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
I think it needs like, but on the screen, it needs to, and like they're starting to get there, but like faster. Like,
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like shove anything down anybody's throat. Like I'm saying like it shouldn't even have to be a conversation.
Yeah.
That shouldn't even be something on anyone's mind.
Yeah.
Like this is just a good actress, or this is just a good singer, or
Yeah.
this is just a good dancer.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Like that shouldn't be in like the headspace
Yeah.
at this point.
And Jasmine, like, I think, you know, she represents that sort of like the Black powerhouse vocalist, but she's not the Whitney Houston appearance or the Beyonce appearance.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about her is like her stuff is just so authentic. Her voice is
Mm-hmm.
raw. It's incredible. I really think she's one of the most underrated vocalists.
I agree.
You know,
I agree with that so much.
Overlooked.
Yeah. Anytime I listen to her, first of all, I sit in my car and I try to do any run that she does. But and like some of them I've got, and then some of them I'm like, how is she doing that? Like my voice just doesn't do that. Like, and I think it's so special. But that's like truly, she's so authentic. She's so special. Her voice is so special.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like a blessing to hear her
Yeah.
do anything, honestly.
You want to know, and this one's out of left field though, super nostalgia, and I don't know why. I mean, my mom was kind of into Garth Brooks, but like Thunder Rolls, like
Oh, that is a good song.
that song, like as a kid growing up listening to it and stuff, I'm like, and like the thunder in the background and stuff.
Yeah.
It's such a mood.
It is a mood, and even when like you're a kid and you don't maybe understand the lyrics, like you
Right.
felt what they were talking about.
You don't know what in the world that was going on in the song, but you know what's going on in the song.
Yeah,
You know?
that's another thing. Like you don't always need lyrics to understand what's happening.
It's true.
That's why you can hear a song in a different language and still love it because you
Yeah.
know what they're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Oof, that is so funny. I totally get that one with the Thunder Rolls for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like such a mood.
Yeah, that is a dark one.
It is.
And it is left field. I love that you brought that one out.
It
That's
is.
so great.
Yeah, like I think that's for me, like having multiple genres and stuff that you can connect with, like that's important because it's just a representation of different lives and
Yeah.
stuff. So I try to keep it open, but yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest Garth Brooks fan, not that I'm not a fan, but like he's not on all of my playlists. You know
Right,
what I mean?
exactly. He's just like, there's a song here or there that
Yeah.
you like. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
So
that's very cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever heard, this is so like, this is also left field, but a little bit, but we were talking about like hearing something in a different language. Like Casey Musgraves came out with that new album, like new, it was last year, but it was so phenomenal. Like, and I feel like that's going to be really nostalgic for people in the future.
Huge. Yeah.
But she has this one song, and I'm gonna butcher it, but it's like Grazia della Plena or
Yeah.
something like that. But it meant like thank you to life, I think.
Yeah.
And she like told a story behind it because I like watched an interview or something, but it was about like I just remember hearing it and knowing what it was about before I even heard her interview of what it was about. And
wow. I
it
just
made
got
me,
chills.
yeah, it made me cry. And I didn't really know why it was making me cry. And then I realized it was because like something along the lines, and I would have to like go back and look specifically, but it was something along the lines of like a letter that was found and turned into a song of like a woman's like almost like I don't know if it was like a suicide note or something like that, but she was just basically saying thank you to life. And I was like, there's something so haunting about that, but I felt that in that song, and the fact that she chose to like go down that road and put that on her album, like that, it was so interesting and special, and I really thought that was so beautiful. And so I think hearing that, I don't know,
Yeah.
it just popped into my head.
Like, you know, I've read for you before, so I got
Yeah.
like major like spirituals.
Yeah.
When you were talking about that. Wow.
It's
That is
so
incredible.
beautiful.
I didn't know that was the story,
Yeah.
but I mean, you're right. Like, even things that are written in different languages, you can just feel.
Yeah, because music is universal.
Yeah.
Like they say math is universal.
Yeah.
Like music is also universal.
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all right. So this is another weird one. The planets have vibration. Like the Earth has, I think the scientists that discovered this was Schumann, and so they call the Earth's vibration the Schumann resonance. Every planet in the solar system, get this, has a vibration. If you play it as a key, like as in music, like a note, it's a harmony. The planets are a harmonious vibrational chord, essentially.
That is so wild.
Isn't that wild?
That is so cool.
Yeah. I mean, you could go down so many tracks with this, but like, it's just, yeah.
I'm so geeking out right now, and we could literally talk about this all day. Like, I could be here talking about like all of the interesting things I've seen, like with music and harmonies, and just like those moments when you like hear really perfect harmony and like you get chills and you just like start tearing up.
Yeah.
Like, that is literally some of my favorite moments in life.
Huge.
Like, sometimes my sister and I, or like even Amanda and I, will like send things back and forth to each other and just be like, you're either gonna like, you're gonna want to sit down for this, or like, let's see if I can get you, like if this one gets you more than the one you just sent me.
Yeah.
And it's just like all kinds of like weird harmonies.
I think that's why first of all, I love harmonies. Huge thing. Like, I would rather take the harmony part sometimes.
Same.
Right?
It's fun, and it's like a little bit interesting. Like, you know, it's
like
a little bit of a challenge. Just like a little bit.
Coloring outside the lines
Yeah.
a little bit. I would rather take the harmony part, but yeah, harmonies, and also like when people do runs, like riffing and runs, like those for me, because they often really aren't lyrical. They're melodic, and you're following, and it's a representation of what's going on for that person in that moment. And
It's in their soul. That comes from right there.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, that is something that you can't teach. And it's just, that's what makes stuff come alive for me.
Yeah.
When I was in college, I took a quick vocal class. Quick because I was out like in the day. But I was singing some like Italian piece, and I guess I did like a lick accidentally or something. And our classmates, our peers, were like our jury. So after I'd sang it, somebody was like, I really liked your tone, and but you know, you did this like one part on the rugiadose word, and it was like, you know, it was a little too black. And I was like,
whoa.
Hell
absolutely not. Goodbye.
No. Right. Like, and I do think like there's a whole conversation to have about like appropriation and stuff, but I literally, I was like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I left the class that day.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't do that, because that's an authentic part of music. Like,
right.
You can't take that away from people, but
yeah. No, and I have some serious respect for people who go through the classes and do all of the like, I used to be able to like read solfege and like sight read music and things like that. And like, I think if you put it in front of me, it would take me like a week to figure it out at this point. But I used to be able to do it fairly quickly, and I remember thinking it was fun. It was a challenge, but it wasn't something I wanted to do every day. But like people really who can sight read and who are really good at like absolutely taking every single thing that that person did and making it happen again, that is so cool for them to be able to do that. And it's a lot of work. Yeah. My brain doesn't work like that. And I think that there has to be room for both. Like there has to be respect for the side where we are, where it's like, I used to play, I remember my piano teacher used to get so mad, bless her. I loved her so much, but I would be like, I wanted to hear everything by ear. Like I didn't want to read, like the mathematical part of it frustrated me. It took the fun out of music for me. I'm glad that I learned it. It's important to do, to understand what's happening. But I would ask her to play it and I'd be like, yeah, I just don't get it yet. Can I hear it one more time? And like, she would play it twice and then I would play it and she could tell that like, I wasn't sight reading. I had just listened and I copied her by ear because there were like little things here and there that were more from my soul than they were from the piece of music. And I know that like, she would be like, I'm so upset that you're not doing what I'm teaching you. But like, but also, like, I think she was like, it's pretty cool that you did that, though. So, but it's funny because my sister went to the same teacher and she started doing the same thing. And she was probably like, this second one, what the heck? Both of you.
It's like, that's the same. I play by ear. I can read music. By the way, do your listeners know about the Nashville number system?
I don't know if they do. I haven't talked about it.
So for those who are listening, there is traditional like music theory where, you have a treble clef and like you read the music and you play the notes. But the Nashville number system is kind of an invention of people, I think, who just didn't have like the education. I actually would love to know the true history behind it. I'm maybe making this up.
No, but that's cool.
I think that it was like, the chord that you play is based off of like, it's a 1 or a 2 or a 3 or whatever. And so that's how people in the Nashville community write. Most people, it's based off of the Nashville number system. It's not traditional music theory, which makes it really cool here. But also it speaks to kind of like the heritage of music here.
Absolutely.
So
it is unique. It's very special. Yeah, it's so cool. I like that every place has its own story of music as well. And like, you can tell where things sort of come from and originate if you need to like track it down. But yeah, that's such an interesting thing. I'm glad you mentioned that because that's something I don't think a lot of people know. For sure. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you, this is my favorite thing to ask you because you're the one who like taught me how to find my most authentic space.
Oh boy.
When are you your most authentic?
Oh gosh. It's a great question. So I'm thinking about it and I have to say, like, it's so cheesy to say this. I'll give you two answers. I'll give you a cheesy answer and then I'll give you like a slightly like 75% less cheesy answer. Honestly, when I'm sitting down at the keyboard and playing music, like just making stuff up and writing and saying stuff that doesn't make sense and just coming up with a concept, when I'm creating music, I think is when I'm my most authentic. And honestly, like music was a friend for me when I didn't have a whole lot of other stuff. Like I grew up in church and I grew up as an athlete and nothing wrong with that, but I didn't get to choose for myself, and the universe threw me a loop and I had an injury which took me out of sports, which, when you're in high school and you're competing, like sports are like such a big thing. Your extracurriculars are like how you connect with friends and like, it's like a whole thing. So I couldn't participate. I was like on the sidelines, literally. So I would go home. I had these crutches and this big like knee thing. I had to have knee surgery. And I was sitting down playing the piano, like basically teaching myself how to play or playing by ear. And I was like, this is me. Like, this is so raw. like nobody else is around. And like, if it was a hard day, I could just like cry it out, you know, or if I was like, you know, feeling upbeat, you know, I could play some jazz chords or whatever and like just have fun with it. And I was like, man, this is my home. This is like when I'm most at home with myself. So that's like the cliche answer. And no, Allison didn't like feed me that line to say that before the podcast. I'm going to throw one out at you, which I think this is a lot about like my soul journey, my soul growth. I'm my most authentic when I'm vulnerable and sharing something with somebody that's vulnerable. And that can look like a conflict. Like I could be speaking up for myself. It could look like telling somebody that's important to me that I love you. You know, men get socialized to not be connected to their emotions. And so as a man who's done a lot of growth work, who has a spiritual mindset about things, growth mindset, and is also a musician, like the universe was like, nah, bro, like you're gonna feel your emotions.
Yeah.
Right. So like I was like not escaping that in this lifetime, I think. I feel like if I'm saying something to someone that I care about, that I have no idea how they're going to respond to it, that vulnerability, that's when I'm my most authentic.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the core of authenticity, is vulnerability. And vulnerability is not, you know, posting that, you know, you broke up with so-and-so and, you know, there's a soulmate that's out there for you and blah, 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 blah. Like vulnerability is not talking about like, you know, listen guys, like I've been out of work for so long and like I'm looking for a job and can you help? Like that's not vulnerability.
Yeah.
That's attention seeking.
Yeah.
Vulnerability is like, I have no idea if you're going to want to be around me after I say this, but like, I got to do this for me because this is who I am.
Absolutely.
At my core.
Yeah. That is such a stunning response. And I really thank you for that.
Oh.
I think a lot of people needed to hear that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. I feel like we're so hungry for like real stuff.
Yeah.
And we just get fed stuff that's like, I don't know. I think socials have done a number on us, and they've forced us to see inauthentic things, and we might get fooled that they are authentic.
Yeah.
That leads us into comparison and so on. But like authenticity is sitting down with somebody and like this.
Yeah.
Like having a conversation and saying, you know, speaking from your heart. I mean, that's what the word courage means. Like it comes from the word cur, which means to tell the story of who you are. And so I think that's what it's about. I think that's what like good music is about. It's about authenticity. It's about authentic. There's club music that's authentic because that's coming from that person's life, but there's breakup songs, there's love songs, like there's stuff that has nothing to do with love that's authentic. So that's my vibe. That's my
like
answer
that.
on that. Yeah.
That's very cool. I like that. And I definitely haven't had that response yet.
Oh no.
No, that's great. That's so great.
Yeah. People are probably like, okay, he really took it.
No, that's what I want. And I'm sure that's what they want too, for sure. Okay. So we kind of touched on something along these lines, but my next question is there someone out there that you think like is underrated that needs to be heard more?
Yes.
Okay, let's go.
Allison Park.
No, it can't be me.
I know.
And
it's
it
like
can't be you.
Disqualified. Yeah, no, definitely. No, okay. So there is somebody that is, I would say they have like a cult following and they are well liked and they are well received. They are known, but they're not known as much as I think they should be known.
Totally.
It's an artist named Alan Stone.
I love Alan Stone.
Right?
So much.
So good.
If I need to be put in a better mood, if I need to feel something.
Right?
If I just want to look at his hair.
He does not look like he sounds. Right?
Not even a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought literally the first time years ago when I saw him, I was like, is this like the backup singer? I was like, I don't get it. Like, is this right? No, that's him. And it doesn't matter because he's amazing. And I love him so much.
Absolutely.
And his music is so good. Like lyrically, incredibly on point. Vocally, unrivaled.
Yep.
His vibrato, his runs, like he's just his range.
Yeah.
Get the hell out of here.
So good.
He's so good.
Yeah. I love when people's lyrics match their vocal abilities. That really just like somehow, like for me, it's just like, ooh, that's the whole package right there.
Right.
Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel like one of the things that is so impressive to me is that he can do it live. He can do it in real time.
Yeah.
And he does not disappoint.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say, like, if nobody's heard, if people listening haven't heard Alan Stone, I would be like, go listen.
Yeah.
He's got so much good stuff.
That's,
So,
I that's amazing. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you one more.
Surprise.
Yeah. Surprise. One more. So what are you working on right now? What's coming up next for you? And where can we find everything?
Yes. Well, my music is anywhere you can stream music, blah, 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 blah.
All the places.
Right. Yeah. So that being said, I am currently in my like professional coaching work. I have just finished a coaching, I'm going to call it package. I don't know what the proper terminology, like what the like guru coaches call things, but it's essentially like designed to meet people who are on a spiritual path that are trying to overcome codependent patterns. And so I define codependency as, oh, Allison, you're okay? Okay, great. Then I'm okay. But then if you get upset, oh, you're not okay? Oh, well, I'm not okay. And I need to fix it, right?
Yeah.
We are like a connective species. So like we need connection, but we also need like independence. We need our own, literally what we just talked about, our own authenticity.
Yeah.
So I find that like people don't know what the word codependency means. And it actually comes from the literature that's about research into alcoholism. And they found that people who were paired with an alcoholic developed codependent patterns. So that's where it comes from, but it's so widespread today outside of even just that context.
Yeah.
And so there's so many different ways that I could define it. And if you Google it, you'd find 27,000 different ways to define it, but that's my way.
Yeah.
And so there's really something about being in touch with oneself and starting with you, not from a selfish perspective, but from a perspective of like, I have to fill my cup first before I fill yours. Like you get on a plane, they're like, in the event of an emergency, put on your oxygen mask first and then assist somebody that needs help, whatever after. Like that's how it needs to be. And we have like romanticized like this whole like put others first. And even in our like faith traditions, like this idea of selflessness. And it's like there is a time and a place for that, but it's not 100% of the time.
Yeah.
So people are disconnected from their emotions. Teaching emotional intelligence and regulation is super important to me. And so this curriculum or this lesson, I've actually got it all like pre-recorded and it's getting ready to go live.
So that's awesome.
Yeah. And so you were a beneficiary of like kind of the like first run of that.
Yeah.
And there's 12 modules. So we've added some stuff to it. And I think like, it's my heart song right now. It's really important to me. So that has been my focus for the last year.
Yeah.
And so I did take a step away from music, but like as soon as that goes live and people can start taking it online and they'll get a few sessions with me and stuff as well. So that would be wonderful if folks want to check that out. Yeah. But
and you're still doing your one-on-ones, right?
Still doing one-on-one work.
Yeah.
Absolutely with
so
people.
Great.
And so, but then from a music perspective, like then it's like, it's back to writing, and I have stuff that's not been released yet that I've been holding on to. And I have stuff that's in my noggin that I've got to get down that's not been released yet. But yeah, so I have some stuff ready to go.
That's amazing.
musically as well.
I
So,
cannot wait to hear that, and I
Yeah.
cannot wait to like see everything that you are a part of
Yeah.
like in the future. I just feel like everything you touch is done with so much love
Oh,
and
thank you.
just to help others, but it's also very authentic to yourself. So I think
Thank you.
there's something very special about that.
Yeah.
And then we can find like, so when that class does go live, if somebody wants to find it, where would they find that?
Yeah. So you can get to it from my Instagrams, the
Yeah.
easiest way probably.
Cool. And we'll link that for sure.
Yeah, which is the Ryan Hagan.
Yeah.
And then there'll be a link to it. And like I said, it's kind of like a work at your own pace type of thing. Like what you did with that group was more hands-on.
Intensive.
Yeah. And so I wanted to give people something that they could do on their own time because it is emotional work.
Yeah.
And it might be something that people like want to space out at their own rate. So
for sure.
And there will also be some group opportunities and stuff along with that as
Yeah.
well. So yeah.
Cool.
That's what I got
That's
coming up.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for taking time. I know you're so busy and you're doing so many things. So I really
all good.
appreciate it. And thank you for being here and sharing all of your wisdom and your music.
My honor. Thank
so
you.
So very cool. And I hope to have you back at some point.
I would love
so
to.
we can find out
This is so
even
fun.
more. Yeah, it's a good time.
I've done a bunch of these, my friend, and
Yeah.
you are so natural. Like,
Oh,
you're so
thank
good
you.
at this.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so you're
I
really
know-
in the right space.
I know I told you before when I was starting this that it terrified me because the one thing that I was always self-conscious about was me speaking. Like my singing voice was never an issue, but my
Really?
speaking to an audience terrified me. Like if I was up on stage and I had to say like, "How are you guys doing?" that would send me into a spiral of
But you could
terror.
sing it.
But I could sing it. I have no problem singing it. So really just like being able to voice an opinion and have a conversation and talk about things that really matter to me and to you and to people, that's really special for me. So anybody who has been a part of this with me, I really, truly like
Anytime.
thank so much.
It's an honor.
Yeah.
Seriously, thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
so much.
Yes.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for staying in tune, tuning in to In Tune. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to In Tune with Allison Park. We will see you next Monday.